great conversation. Can't wait to see LB say something about Chelsea again.
How can you be that rattled, bro? Seriously, that we've not even spoke about Chelsea yet, and you're already rattled, bro. Like, that is insane, man. Like, you need to get outside and touch grass, innit? Come on, let's start Chelsea. Come on, Terry, what you got for me, man? Cheaters, yeah? You say the cheaters, yeah? Oh, yo, chat! Chelsea cheats. There you go. That's for your clicks channel. Yeah?
Well, it's a great segue into the Chelsea section because they, of course, have seen their revenue reduced by 60 million, but their profits grow by over 220 million. So from a 90 million pound loss to a 128 million pound profit. Of course, this has been done through partly some player sales and their loan market bringing in some money, but predominantly this profitability has come, gents, from them selling their women's team to their parent company for 200 million. An 18 times multiplier as well. So I've read today that the women's team at Chelsea brings in 11 million a year in revenue. They sold it for 18 times more than its revenue value, which is, listen, if I can sell the football Terrace to some media mogul for 18 times the valuation, I'm off, bruv. I am leaving. But they've sold they've sold part of another asset, made massive profits. People are calling this out. Kieran Maguire put a post out today that says if you strip the sales of assets and just look at the revenue outside of that, Chelsea would have made a loss of 222 million pounds had they not have sold those assets away from the football club. What's your take on this, gentlemen? Because obviously we know finances is a big part of the game now. It's discussed a lot, but there are some that are saying this is cheating, this is just exploiting loopholes. Others are saying this is good business. What do you guys make of this?
Go on, LB. I'll let you start because this is obviously close to your heart, bruv. So go on.
Yeah, I know. I actually know quite a lot about this subject. You might know. Is it cheating? I say no. I say it's not cheating. There you go, Virgilio. How'd you like that one? Yeah, I don't think it is cheating, because for me, cheating is where you break the rules. Now, they've not broken the rules. What they've done is they've exploited a loophole. Yeah, they've exploited a loophole which exists, and that's the Premier League's fault because they were the one that put the rules in. And ultimately, Chelsea's owners have outsmarted the Premier League because they found this loophole and they've used it. Now, should they be doing that? And is that right? Well, obviously not. Obviously, morally, that is not right. What they've done is completely wrong, completely out of order. And yeah, I think the likes of Everton, the likes of Forest, will be really, really frustrated that Chelsea have done this. So yeah, morally, on a moral standpoint, absolutely, they're bang out of order. But ultimately, you don't get locked up for morals, right? You get locked up for actual breaking the law. And Chelsea have factually not done anything wrong here. And like I say, I think it's mad. But at the same time, I think your anger has to go towards the Premier League here. If you're frustrated with what Chelsea have done, and there'll be a lot of fans that are really frustrated with what Chelsea have done, because make no mistake about it, yeah, selling your women's club basically to yourself, yeah, selling the car park to yourself and having that get you out of PSR, that's a madness. But ultimately, Chelsea haven't done anything wrong. Like I say, morally, that is not right. But who cares? You know what I mean? Like, morals is a completely different situation. I think what it shows me is that, yet again, the Premier League have been embarrassed. And that's how this should be framed, in my opinion, because the Premier League have put these rules in place and they should have had the smartest brains, the smartest minds in the world, yeah, and say, these are the rules. We want you to come with ideas of getting yourself out of this situation. And they've obviously not done that, because this guy's come in and within 12 months, he started selling all the assets and that, and he's got himself out of PSR. So for me, I think it's a Premier League issue. I don't think Chelsea have done much wrong here. Yeah, it's not right. Technically, it's not right. Morally, it's not right. But they haven't actually broken the law. So I wouldn't call them cheats. I'd call them exploitative, morally wrong. But realistically, who cares? You know what I mean? So yeah, for me, it's the Premier League. It's the Premier League's issue.
Yeah, I'd love to sit here on a stream and start pointing fingers at Chelsea, saying they're a disgrace and they're scum and that they're cheating and all this. But really what Manchester City and Chelsea have done is embarrass Premier League and show their presence. That's what they've done. Oh, don't know what's happening there. I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi or your Wi-Fi, but I personally do feel like LB is spot on with what he's saying. And I think what Manchester City have done is they've proven that their lawyers have outsmarted and outwitted what the Premier League have set in place. And Todd Bowley and co over at Chelsea are doing exactly the same now. They're now saying, we can do this because there's nothing to say we can't. Now, as a football fan, it doesn't look great and it stinks, if I'm honest, but that's the Premier League's fault. And they either need to change the laws and allow that to be cut down and make sure that that's a new rule in place for not to be happening, or let them do it and let them crack on. And the Premier League will have to decide that. Now, what I will say is there's a lot of Chelsea fans that will say, well, don't shower us, go do it yourself. Go sell your women's team off to this. Go do this X, Y, Z, what we're doing, because it's working for us. It's sorting our PSR out. We spent 1.5 billion. Okay, half of it's on trash, but actually it doesn't stop all of our clubs now spending money and getting away with PSR and this, that, and the third. And I said this, and I was with LB probably 2 years ago when this PSR was spoken about. I knew this was a load of waffle and a load of bollocks, and it wasn't going to work, and that loopholes would be found. And this is why people just end up saying either put the rules in place so it stops people doing it, or just let people spend what they want and go. You've got to do one or the other. You can't do this because otherwise you put in the middle and you can't really do that. You can't really do that. Well, yeah, we found out that we can. Okay, now we better change that law then. Or now we're selling this to this. But okay, well, crikey, we better put another case law in place so they can't do that then. It's just going to be fighting against other lawyers fighting against lawyers. And the Premier League have embarrassed themselves. And if I'm honest with you, if this is going to continue to be the start, it's just going to keep going. Newcastle are going to do this. Chelsea are going to do it. Man City are going to do it. Why? Because they've got all the money and they want to, spend it. Look, we've got a lot of money.
Do you not think, no, Potsy, right? When they're bringing these rules in, yeah, like financial rules or regulation, whatever regulation they bring in, right? So whether it's the signing of academy players from foreign countries, there are certain regulations there that you can and can't sign the players. When it comes to the financial things, do you not think that the Premier League should humble themselves a little bit and go, right, we're going to bring these rules in. We're bringing them what we believe to be the right reasons, right? But we also accept that these owners in the Premier League are billionaires and they've got the best accountants in the world. Why have the Premier League not got like outside accountants, outside smart people?
Yep.
Yeah. Pay them a bit of money and say, right, these are the rules, these are regulations. You now are the owner of a football club that you've got 200 million that you want to spend, but these regulations are stopping you. What are you going to do? Find a way to get around it. Yeah. And you give them a month, and then you come back to you and say, what have you done? Have you found a way around it? And they go, yeah, all right, sound. We'll adjust the rules. Or they come back and say, watertight, sound.
You could get Chat GTP to probably do that.
Probably
on a real level. Look, I look at it this way. Like, I think people are equating it to what City are accused of. City are accused of getting sponsors and then funding them themselves. This is a little different. There is no rule that states. I mean, look, there has been a claim today from Stefan Borson. This is where it gets tricky for City fans, because City fans, whatever Borson said, City fans get on their knees and say, yes, thank you, God. But he said on TalkSport earlier today that this malarkey will not work with UEFA. So there's a possibility UEFA could stop Chelsea from competing. Theoretically, that may happen, but that remains to be seen. They haven't. The Premier League tried to block Chelsea and clubs from doing this, but only 11 out of the 20 teams agreed, therefore failed to stop the rule change. Back in June, the Premier League have failed with an attempt to ban clubs from using profits from the sale of club assets in their financial fair play submission. And what you'll probably find, if we go back to this one here, thank you for KJ for finding that, is that the 11 teams that agreed, you probably find they have very little assets to sell. Maybe they don't even own the land that their ground is on. Maybe they don't own any hotels or properties nearby. Maybe their women's team, if they have a women's team, are not even particularly valuable. Maybe, there's multiple reasons as to why they maybe can't do this, right? They don't have the assets. They don't have it there. So they may just, I always find clubs vote for what's within their best interest. You'll also find that some of the people that voted for this have owners that don't want to invest any of their money. The Glazers, as an example, would not like the idea of this, because I'll be honest with you, what Chelsea have done, I want Man United to go and do it today. Our women's team actually generates slightly more revenue than Chelsea's. So therefore, we could sell it for £250 million. Ineos could buy the women's team for £250 million. It goes into our revenue, which means we've got no PSR problems. It then means we can pay some of the debt down, which reduces the interest the following year, means less redundancies for staff. We can do this. My question, and I will pose this, if anyone from Ineos is watching, why are you not doing this? Now, maybe, as per Stefan Borson, there is the possibility you could be excluded from UEFA. So, I would understand Man United and Arsenal and City not doing it today if there's a chance of being banned from Europe, because wouldn't it would be ironic if Chelsea make the Champions League and then UEFA ban them because of this action. Then we'll all come back and say, actually, it's not very clever. It was stupid. But I agree with you, LB. I think they need to have their rules in place, and I think they've got to use lawyers, fraudsters. You know, like you've seen the film Catch Me If You Can? And
I love
DiCaprio,
that.
DiCaprio's character gets caught. In a real story, Frank Abagnale, I think his name was. In real life, he was caught and put to prison. And then what they did, the FBI went, we should actually use him to catch other criminals. So he got himself out of prison essentially by now. I mean, you could argue he turned into
working
a grass.
with him.
Yeah, but he worked. But end of the day, you know, he did it. We need to do the same. We've got to go and find fraudsters, cheats, con men, lawyers and accountants, which you could probably put into the same category. No offense to any lawyers and accountants out there. And go, right, scrutinize these rules to the nth degree. Find the loophole. You're absolutely spot on when you say that, LB. I do. I don't think they've cheated. I think this is clever.
With this comment here quickly, 11 out of 20. How many teams have to vote for it to be changed then? It's not just a majority then.
2/3.
2/3, yeah. So you have to get 15 basically.
Right.
But then if some club abstain, then they just like get removed. So then obviously it'd be less clubs need to vote for
it. Yes. So,
but I don't think that's another thing. I know we're going to go into it, but like I don't think you should be able to abstain. You're a club in the Premier League. If the vote's going, you should have to make it. You have a responsibility if you're a football club to vote on the rules. You shouldn't be able to just go, sorry lads, I'm not getting
I'm not getting involved in this.
No. You're a club in the Premier League. They're having a vote on a set of rules. You have an obligation to review that rule, talk it through your board, talk it through whoever, legal departments, and say, what do we think? You shouldn't just be able to say, nah, I'm not voting.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, look, I would like Man United to do it. I mean, I recorded a podcast earlier that's coming out later today where I said I'd like Ineos to do it. I've already changed my mind. If it turns out it's against UEFA's rules, then let's give it a what. Let's see if Chelsea get away with it first. And if Chelsea get away with it, then I'd be annoyed if my club don't do the same thing. Because essentially, I know this. Look, the only area that Chelsea fans have to be worried about is if they don't start getting back into the Champions League regularly. I know they're in the World Club Championship, 50 million guaranteed. But you're not going to be in it the next time around if you haven't got back into the Champions League. You just won't be in it. If Chelsea get back into the Champions League and therefore also start winning major trophies again, their financial situation will resolve itself. They won't need to sell assets. The only problem Chelsea have, it's nothing to do with cheating or corruption. It's they're selling assets because they're losing so much money on this project. You can't just keep losing money and keep selling. Eventually, because what I don't think you're allowed to do in Premier League. Chelsea are in FFP trouble with UEFA because they do not accept. Okay, so this is also it. So it's one of these things where nothing's fraudulent, but FFP may, because this is the thing with FFP and PSR. For instance, people keep saying, "Oh, how can Man United build a new stadium? They'll be in more debt. They'll lose more money. They'll fail PSR." Infrastructure is deductible. So say you lose 500 million a year, but 500 million loss was down to the stadium being built. That doesn't impact you on PSR. In fact, the investment in your women's team, investment in youth. So that's also something that Chelsea are probably going to do. If you buy a lot of young players and you can say they're part of the youth investment, not the first team. So Man United buying Chido Obi as an example and all the youngsters with ball, that all gets written off of PSR and FFP. So that's going to be a real interesting one. So absolutely right now, Man United, don't do it. Let's wait and see what happens with Chelsea. But it's the long-standing financial issues that Chelsea should be focusing on. If they don't get back in the Champions League, if they don't start winning trophies, there comes a point where you can't keep selling assets because they're all gone and the revenue is dropping. That's when Chelsea could find themselves in dire straits. So for me, no cheating whatsoever. The focus should be more on, hang on. And this is for any business. If a business to operate has to sell its assets, there comes a point where the business will go bust if those revenues don't increase. And the only way Chelsea are increasing those revenues is by winning trophies and getting back in the Champions League. So, yeah, look, it's interesting times at Chelsea, to say the least, boys.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But that's you're right in saying that. They've only got so many assets to sell.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to turn this around quickly. You know what I mean? And they seem like they probably sold the high items. You know what I mean? If you're in debt and the debt collector's knocking on your door and you've got to sell items, you start with, right, well, let me get rid of the big things first. You know what I mean? Get that debt down, innit? So that's what they've done. They've sold the main things. They've got to sort this out. And the problem for Chelsea is they still need another 200, 300 million spending on the squad, man.
Well, this is what I was going to say, LB, which I think you'd like to hear, is that now they've made this profit based on the way that trading accounts work. They have got maybe £300 to £400 million to spend because they can amortize it. There is no excuse
to do that.
There's no excuse to not buy the experienced goalie, mid defenders, strikers. And they've got to do it. If they spend it, although on kids, they spend it on that. That's where Chelsea fans should be asking questions.
Well,
right,
they're linked with a 21-year-old goalkeeper and Garnacho. So, you know, that's the sort of targets they're going for. Surely they can't go for that, man. I mean, crikey, it's ridiculous if they go for players like that. Surely they've got to go and get Osimhen. Surely they've got to go and get, you know, a goalkeeper in the Premier League that they look at, they like, whether it's for Bruggen or whether it's Matt Sells. They've got to go and do this now. They can't be, got to go and get players ready for now, not in 5 or 6 years' time. You know, and they're getting excited by Kendrick Paez and by Estavio and all these guys coming through. They'll be great in 5 years, man. Chelsea got to win now. Do you know what I mean? Chelsea are a club that should be winning every year. You should look at their season as a failure if they don't win a trophy, just like Arsenal. Yeah, they're no different. So that's the standard I put Chelsea in. If you want to have another 5 years and, in 5 years, Chelsea might be win saying, great stuff. But don't take the piss out of Arsenal fans that are saying that, you know, this process is going to take a while. Not that it's me who says that, by the way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because Chelsea fans who've been giving Arsenal fans stick over the last couple of years, and rightly so, because your club's an embarrassment. They are at serious risk of going down the same way. And actually, it's probably more embarrassing because they spent 1.5 billion quid.
It is more embarrassing.
It is more embarrassing. It is. So this is it. This summer, Chelsea need to be serious. Go and get a proper goalkeeper. Go and get a proper striker, and then go get a couple of other players dotted around the squad. But we're talking serious talent here. Yeah, I'm not talking like some 19-year-old. From the French second division. I'm not talking about 17-year-old from Brazil. Talking about real proper players. And if they do that, they should have a squad that is at least in a title race for the majority of the season.